Hey, Kratom quitters. This is the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. My name is Libby. I am here with Jacob, my co-host. Jacob, how are you today?
I'm doing well, despite it being a long day, but doing well. How about you?
Doing pretty good. It's kind of like overcast and foggy in Los Angeles today, so I'm feeling that, but it's also a nice change. But yeah, let's get into the episode. Today on the podcast episode, we are on episode 132, and I interviewed Natalie. She's coming on for a really special kind of reunion episode where she got 2 years. And so she's now coming back to do a follow up interview. And it was fun to do a new type of interview. So I'm looking forward to everyone enjoying that one. I know that there was an intro topic that Jacob wanted to discuss today, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, the topic I wanted to discuss a little bit today was creating inclusionary spaces in the Kratom recovery community and in the recovery community in general. There are lots of spaces that are very inclusionary. I like to think of our podcast as one. If you have recovered from Kratom, really our only requirements are you've abstained from Kratom for 30 days and you have a willingness to continue to not use Kratom. That's basically our only criteria. Regardless of how you got sober, regardless of if you're using medication or you're went to 17 ayahuasca ceremonies and that's what did it, like whatever it takes, right? We're supportive of all kinds and ways to get sober and get off Kratom, if you will. That's not the case for all the spaces out there, though. And I'm not going to get into like specific spaces or the specific ways that they can be exclusionary, but there are quite a few forums that for various reasons don't allow dialogue on this or don't want to talk about a certain thing because they don't agree with that approach to recovery. And I think that's doing way more harm than good because, as we all know, there's more than one way to get sober. And as I talked about in an intro, I think it'll be 2 episodes ago now, there's various definitions of what clean and sober even is. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think I get where you're coming from. I think just this morning I saw on one of the Kratom support platforms people having a discussion about medicated assisted therapy and treatment in support of Kratom sobriety, and they were bashing on it. And it's not new to me to see that, and I've seen it here and I've seen it on a lot of those other platforms plenty of other times. And it's heartbreaking to me because I feel like anyone seeking out these platforms are seeking out support for Kratom sobriety or Kratom addiction. And it's hard enough to be in that position. We should be supporting people in any way we can, and any way that they can get sober and clean is the right way. And so criticizing someone on their path is not creating an inclusive environment. I mean, I feel like I can relate it to AA, where I've often been in AA rooms where I didn't feel welcome because I was a drug addict, or there were parts of my story where I wasn't allowed to talk about. And that also just felt like at the end of the day, I didn't belong there, but where did I belong? And so if you can't find support and recovery in these spaces that are meant to be supportive for recovery, then like, what are they there for? So I agree. I feel like we really try on the podcast to be inclusive and include all kinds of stories. I mean, you used medicated assisted therapy. I used Ibogaine. Like, we have all kinds of ways that people got free. Yeah, it's just too bad.
Yeah, it really is. And it's very experiential too. Like one person's experience with something is going to be different than another person's. Like I know for a lot of addicts that I've talked to, like psychedelics are very helpful for them. I know part of your story involved Ibogaine, and I'll be honest, I probably because I always used psychedelic drugs in a more recreational sense, I don't have that same like connection. It doesn't. Since I've quit drinking, I have had some psychedelic experiences. I haven't since I've quit Kratom, but it didn't really do what it does for other people. Now, I know it's super beneficial for so many people, so I wouldn't just relate my experience because it didn't work for me to basically say that that's not a valid way to get sober. Anyway, it's just one of those things where I think we could do better, and I appeal to anyone out there, like maybe think about someone else's experience. Think about what they've been through, not just the fact that they're coming off Kratom. You don't know if Kratom was the only substance they've ever been addicted to, or if they have a 30 plus year history with opiates and they have never had a string of abstinence and they're just stuck. You just don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a really good parallel to draw where like psychedelics are effective for some people and not so much for other people. And that's really helpful. So, yeah, we can do better. I think
I
as
think
a
so.
community, we can do better. I think that's the message. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much. We will get into the interview. I think everyone's really going to enjoy it. Hey, Kratom Quitters. This is the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. I am Libby. Today we have a very, very exciting interview with Natalie, who was our 15th episode ever. And she's coming back for her 2-year anniversary episode with us. So we're very excited to have her. Natalie, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. I'm excited to be on here. So I appreciate you guys letting me come back and share.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to have you back. Congratulations on 2 years, by the way. How does it feel to hit that milestone?
So it kind of feels unreal. I'm ecstatic because ever since I was about 19, I've always been using either drugs or then I got on Kratom. So for the last, 17 years, I haven't been sober. So this first time that I've been the longest term of sobriety. And I was really nervous because right before I hit my 2 years, I kept having nightmares about relapse. And for some weird reason, it was I just accidentally relapsed. I'm like, that's not going to happen. But I don't know if it's just some kind of fear that I wasn't going to make it. So, but yes, I'm really happy. Yesterday was an amazing day that I was able to celebrate, even though I was at work.
I've had those dreams before where I've accidentally relapsed. So I totally know the anxiety about that.
Yes, they're horrible.
Yeah, and they come out of nowhere. You're like, what was that about?
Right?
Can you give us a quick summary of how long you used Kratom, what type of products you were using, how much you were taking in the end, and the reasons why you quit, just for anyone that might not have heard the first episode?
Yeah, so I found Kratom when I was actually at a sort of a women's sober living. I had chosen to go up there after I got off of my MAT treatment. So I was living out there and I had a sponsor, was going to AA, and I was doing really well. And I found these drinks at a gas station. Back then, they're a little different than the ones they make now. The ones they make now, you always see original formula. This was probably over 10 years ago because I used Kratom for 8 years. And that's what I started on. And then I even went to my sponsor. I'm like, I don't know. Do you think these are good? And she didn't know nobody knew anything about them. But of course, me going to her and asking her was me knowing that I probably shouldn't have been taking them. And I just tried to see if I could justify drinking them. And eventually, they're so expensive, you have to drink 3-4 a day. So I eventually started on powder too. So during my use, I always stuck with a mainly powder. And then I would take extracts and stuff like that throughout, just however many. Sometimes I would, sometimes I'd take a break from them. But by the end, I was using close to 100 grams a day. And so I'd go through 2 or 3 kilos a month. It was pretty intense. So it was just a lot. And of course, once you're on it for so long, you're not even really feeling the effects of it anymore. So I was just eventually just so desperate. I had been on the Facebook group, Quitting Kratom Support, and just following along on everybody's journeys. And I would just read and read and read and want to be quitting. And I'd try every way. I tapered, I made my own capsules. I did everything. Got sick. There's just so many things I tried. And I could never get any long-term sobriety from it. So I was just at a point where I was so desperate. I was either going to go to detox. And I think when you get to that point of desperation where you will literally do anything to stop, that's just where I was. I was just, it was such a dark place. So I was able to finally quit. And I know I talked a lot about that. Just I ended up going to see a doctor. Of course, she didn't know anything about it. And then I saw another doctor, and they didn't really prescribe me anything, but she was a lot more caring, and she was able to like help me, like just talk me through it. And I think it helped just having somebody there, and then the support from the Quitting Kratom support group. Started kind of like having meetings, but I always like lurked in the background. But just finding people that were able to quit just kind of gave me the courage. But when I left that doctor's appointment, I had no intention on quitting. But my doctor was like, why don't you just try not to take anymore? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, just leave here and try not to take anymore. And that's what I did. So I just left that appointment and was like, I'm going to go a couple hours. And then I went another hour and another hour. And somehow I managed to string 2 years together. I have no idea, but it was amazing. So, yeah.
And that was after like a long period where you were kind of like honing in on.
Oh, yes.
Your intention was to quit, but you had kind of like a slow go of like tapering and including healthy lifestyle changes and things like that, right?
Yes, for years. So for a couple years, even when I first met with my doctor, it was still like 4 or 5 months after that. So and that was just like getting blood work done, fixing my like vitamin D, iron levels. And then before that, obviously I'd went on the like nutrition, gym, healthy lifestyle for a couple years. So it was just like years of trying to prepare my body to quit.
Yeah, absolutely. In your first interview, you talked about exercise, nutrition, and faith to help you in your recovery. Have those kept being pillars for you, or have you added any other new tools in your like quote unquote recovery toolbox?
Oh, absolutely. God definitely was, I think, the main, obviously, reason that I was able to just quit. I definitely really started reading the Bible, understanding it with my own terms, not how I like grew up understanding it or how I grew up in a church understanding it. And just really like praying and building that relationship. So that's still number one. That's obviously really important to me. I had a very supportive husband. I still very careful about going to the gym, trying to eat healthy and all that. I did start running, so that's kind of a new thing. And so, yeah, I think it's really important to just try to get your body back to being as healthy as it can be. So you're not constantly like just feeling like crap all the time because you're, but yes, I know I keep saying it, but we have a group of people that have just really been really pillars in my life. And that's people from the Quitting Kratom support group. I chair meetings every week and sometimes a couple times a week. And we've created a nonprofit. So I'm on the board of that. And so that's been huge, just building relationships with people, even though they're online. I love them dearly, and they've been a huge part of my recovery. I wouldn't have made it this far without being able to like jump in and share when I needed to.
Yeah, I think connection and community is such an important part of recovery in general, like from anything, to be honest.
Yes.
That can feel so isolating.
Yes. So lonely.
Totally.
Hard.
What would you say would be the most rewarding part of your sobriety the last 2 years?
I try not to cry, but I think the most rewarding part of my sobriety is just like just being able to have a relationship back with my family, my kids, and my husband, and being able to meet new people because I was just so isolated with Kratom. It was just like me and Kratom. I didn't really care about anybody else. I always thought I did. I always thought, well, I'm not a bad mom because I do all this. And I think once you quit, you realize like it's really hard. You realize that, hey, I wasn't the best parent, but I wasn't the best person to be around. And just being somebody that's just a positive life, like light in other people's life has been really rewarding, and being able to just connect with my children in a way that I really wasn't able to before because I was really numbed out. So those have definitely been the most rewarding.
What are your kids?
So we have 5 altogether. I have 2 13-year-olds. Yes, 11, 5, and 8. She's going to be 8. She's almost 8, not yet, but she's still 7.
Do they know about your recovery at all?
Yes, so my older kids definitely do, and they're very aware of it. And we talk about that and stuff. And, so I like to tell them because we come from a long line of addiction, and I was never told. I had no idea. So
I think that's so important. I wish that someone had talked to me because I come from a long line of addiction too. So
yes, me too.
Yeah. Have there been any like unexpected struggles or challenges that you faced in the last 2 years?
Definitely. I think that to say that everything's been rosy. There has been some hard things just facing, like I said, noticing my kids were struggling more than what I maybe thought they were. And then I've had some issues just come up that's been really hard to deal with, but we've gotten through them. And then just dealing with the emotions and things that you obviously were using in the first place to hide. Those are all stuff that you have to face. All the negative stuff that you've done, you have to try to, just fix those things.
I feel like one of my soapboxes is that using drugs and alcohol is really just a symptom. And so when you take them away, you have to deal with like all of the problems that like led you to seeking relief. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. Because I still notice myself seeking relief now. Like, I'm completely sober, but it could be with my phone or just having to like go and get a milkshake or whatever. It's like, I don't need a milkshake. I'm just feeling bad and like craving to do something. So,
yeah. I think at the end of the day, some of that's just like the human condition. But
right. It's okay to drink a milkshake. Right.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
If you could go back and talk to yourself on day one of quitting, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, I think I would just give myself a hug and just let myself know that I'm worthy and I'm stronger than what I think I am, and just give myself time to heal and give myself grace, because I think we're really hard on ourselves. And I really had no self-esteem, no self-love, no self-worth. So yeah, I think that's really important. I think that just
How much time did you have when you first came on the podcast? Do you remember?
I feel like it was like 4 or 5 months. I was really early. I don't go back and listen to that episode because I'm like, I don't know. I don't ever like listen to myself still. But I think it was around that.
Okay. And you were talking about your trip to Mexico that was pretty soon after your quit.
Yes.
Looking back, how do you think that experience influenced your journey?
Yeah, so when we talk about like community and relationships, I've been going to this church for like 6 years and never really knew anybody. So I was newly sober. I was so nervous, so scared. I mean, my anxiety was terrible because, like I said, I think it was like 3, 4 months that I went to Mexico and I was clean, and my anxiety was awful. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going by myself, these people I don't even know, to a place like a different country, and all of these things ended up being amazing. It was beautiful. So I think like those little experiences that we give ourselves and putting ourselves in these uncomfortable situations along the road just like builds up our hope, like that things are going to be okay. We can do these things, like we can do hard things. And it was a really amazing trip. I got to share my story up there and meet awesome people. And then I've gone again. And so then, we'll be going in July again too. So it'll be my third trip to Mexico. And this time my older son's going to go with me. I think it's really amazing that he's going to get to see. And it's just like a really emotional thing. You get to just really connect with people, even though you don't speak their language, there's still a lot of love there.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've built relationships with people at the church. So like I talk to them, I've made friends. It's been really nice.
It sounds like that is something you do every year then.
Yes, I think it'll be something that I do every year. I try to talk my husband into going. So maybe one year he'll go and I'll stay back until the kids get a little older, but he didn't want to go this year. So
he works in recovery, right?
yes.
Last interview, we talked about how he like kind of let you he took a step back and let you find your own way through recovery, which I thought was really, really cool. Like, I don't know if I was in the recovery job force, if I would be able to let you do that, like as a partner. How has your relationship evolved over the last 2 years since quitting?
So we've always believed, when I said I was going to get married, I was just going to marry one person. And we take marriage very seriously. So it's like, we know like whatever we do, like we're going to work it out and be with one another. And I think that's really awesome to have two people with that same mindset, knowing that like, hey, like we're going to work through this. So there's not like an option of like leaving. Of course, there's situations where you obviously would not stay in a relationship, but with a healthy, normal relationship. And we definitely had our struggles, especially with just like me getting sober. And then, like you said, he was just so fed up because he had dealt with it for so long. And so he kind of had to separate himself from worrying about it all the time. Because, I mean, what else? So I think it was really important that he did that, because I finally eventually got to the desperation point where I wanted to quit for myself, not because this or that, which never worked for me in the past. And pulling back those layers, I'm sober. I can't like run away to a closet and take Kratom whenever we're in an argument, which is what I always did before. I can't like leave the house and go by a gas station and then come back. So it's like we have to sit there and face like the raw emotions of like we have to work this out, like learning how to it's like almost like learning how to recommunicate and everything, because we're both two different people by this point. And so, but it's been really nice. It's been beautiful. We definitely have come to a place where we get along more. Our arguments don't turn into because Kratom made you so angry. It's like, and I'm also able to speak like how I feel about things and stand a firm ground on that too, and not budge because I feel guilty because I take Kratom. I'm really grateful that he stuck by me through all that. Not a lot of people would, and I understand that. And in the end, like when our kids get older, it's just going to be me and him. So I think it's important to really build that relationship. And
Yeah.
I could definitely see the fruit of it now after some time.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had some growth in your relationship, even like with some communication growth, and sounds like there was some silver lining there.
Yes, for sure. Yes, definitely.
Have you had any cravings or moments of doubt?
Oh, yeah.
How have you handled them? Like any close calls where you're like, no, I'm going to go back out?
Yeah. So it's so weird because I've not, I freaking hate Kratom so much that I literally like, I don't know if I'll ever crave it. I might. I'm not going to say I never would, but I haven't struggled with that. I think I just like, gosh, I just despise it. It was just like a horrible abusive ex that you never want to see on the street again. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like would make you sick to your stomach. But I have had really close calls with thinking I could like go drink alcohol or get some like THC gummies or whatever. And I've had some, I wouldn't say necessarily like different triggers for me, but if I'm having like just a hard time, normally it's late at night. And like I used to think that saying was so silly. Halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. It's so true though, because it's normally like late at night, probably like done way too much for the day. I'm tired or whatever, emotional. And I've had one call where I was driving around and going to go like get a pack of cigarettes and like maybe like some liquor or something. And I never even really drank before. And I called my friend and she's like, you are not doing that. No, we're not. And I literally sat in the car for like 3 hours wanting to do it, like driving by the liquor store. Like it was really hard. Like my family was at the skating rink. So then I just went to Taco Bell and I ate Taco Bell and I went home. I was like, you just need to go to bed. And I went to bed and the next day I was fine. So that's kind of how it was. And then there was one other close call when I was door dashing and nothing was wrong. I was going to get like a smoothie. I had been stressed out and I saw that you could put like alcohol in there. I had no idea. And so like I literally was like, why do I feel like this was not too long ago? I was like, why do I feel like I'm even thinking about that? And so you kind of have to just like stop and be like, what's wrong? Why are you thinking this? And at that point, I just jumped on the good thing. It was like the 8:00 meeting. There is a way out. And I got on there and I shared and then I was fine the next day. And so it's been fine after that. But that was like close to the 2-year mark where I was kind of like struggling with, I don't know why. So, but yeah, but that's kind of how I tell on myself. That's like the biggest thing. Like I tell on myself. And once I get through those moments, like I said, it just gives me more hope that I can get through more. And then I just know like sometimes you're just emotional. Sometimes you just need to go to sleep, really. Sometimes you just need to go get something to eat and take a nap, or even it sounds so minute and silly, but
I think there's some like really good nuggets in what you just said for our listeners. The hungry, angry, lonely, tired thing. Like, am I any of those things when you're triggered, to like figure out why am I experiencing this trigger, and can I mediate it with food or sleep or venting session or something? And then the other thing you said was that you tell on yourself, which I think was really important, that you called your sponsor, or you called a friend, at least the first one.
yeah, so I called a friend and she knows all about the whole kratom use and all that. So you got to make sure to call a friend that's not gonna co-sign and
For sure.
but yes, yeah, because before when I would quit, I would never call anybody because I was gonna go do it anyways. So
Right.
I think it's important when you call somebody, you're actually trying to. So,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Have you discovered any new hobbies since you quit?
Yeah, well, I guess running. My goal is to eventually run. I know sounds crazy, but I want to eventually run like a 50 or 100-mile ultra marathon.
What? That's wild.
Yeah, I'm really far from that, so it's going to take a while. So far, I've trained and I did a 15K, and so that's like not 10 miles, but it's close. So I ran that not too long ago. I have signed up for a half marathon. I'm hoping to maybe sign up for one in between that or see, and then eventually try for the marathon and then maybe do like some trail running. But yeah, so that's kind of my new little hobby. I used to hate running, so I like it though. It's fun and it's a good way to kind of meditate and then get out in nature because I love being out and outside. And it's not really a hobby, but I'm in EMS and I went and got my advanced license and now I'm in paramedic school. So I should be getting my degree for paramedicine in July. So that's been really hard lately to like balance, but it's good. So it's exciting. I really enjoy emergency medicine and like helping people. And
Congratulations on that. That's exciting.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Speaking of which, you said it had been hard. Like, how has your mental health been since quitting or over the course of the last few years? Have you had any like mental health struggles?
I definitely did. Like, so at the beginning, like I said, I was like real anxious. I mean, I'm always like kind of an anxious person, but it was really hard in the beginning for a long time. And so I think that's like important to let people know, like 6 months even. It's not that you won't feel better, but you'll have moments where you're dealing with terrible anxiety and it seems to even out. So it's like a lot better now. Like I can go around people I don't know, talk to them, feel confident. I never could do that before. And I struggled with like kind of like imposter syndrome, just not feeling like good enough ever. And then I would say, of course, like we all get emotional and stuff. I try to like really watch. I know this is kind of for the girlies, but it's really important. I track just the girl cycle because our hormones and emotions fluctuate. So it's like if I'm like really down or depressed, I'll just like check in. Okay, I'm supposed to feel this way. This is okay. Like I know in a couple days my mood will go up and just kind of let my body rest if it needs rest. Have patience. That's what I think is really important. Like it's okay to like rest. It's okay to like know that that's too much for you to handle right now. And I'm really protective of my mental health because I'm so scared of relapsing. So I think it's important to set boundaries and know like, hey, I can't handle that mental capacity. And I mean, like right now, like whatever situation it is.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you've done a lot of work. I personally really love the cycle syncing kind of thing where you're like, I know I'm luteal right now and I might feel depressed and sad and not like moving my body, but like that will move forward next week and being in tune with that. And so that's a tool that you've developed, it sounds like, and just a lot of self-compassion I'm hearing from you about meeting yourself where you're at.
I think that's important for us.
Especially women, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You'd be so surprised. Plus, I think it messes up your hormones so bad, anyways. So it's like we're struggling. Like we're already like.
Kind of on that same hand, have you noticed any like long lasting, either physical or mental effects from using Kratom for so long? Because I know you were on it for a really long time.
Yeah, I've had a lot of like teeth issues and more so than even when I used other substances. I know the dentist said when your mouth is like really dry for long periods of time, it eats away the enamel and stuff. So, of course, I've had that. But yeah, so any health stuff I've noticed, maybe just like my teeth. Like you said, I feel like my hormones are just sometimes like real off balanced. And that could just be normal. And I could have just been hiding it all these years. But yeah, so I've had to like go to like physical therapy and stuff for like my knees and just like trying to your muscles kind of break down too. Like even though I was going to the gym, I was like not really building muscles like I am now once I'm off of it. And then I had a lot of vitamin deficiencies. And so I just went and got rechecked and everything's like good. Like my levels are all back to normal. And so
I didn't know Kratom can cause teeth problems. So when you said that in the first interview, I was wondering what that was about. But now that you say that chronic dry mouth can cause enamel erosion, is that what you were saying?
yep. Yeah. So then like cavities and then also the nutrients part, just where your body's not absorbing nutrients like it should be from the kratom. Yeah.
It gets so stuck in your GI tract.
Oh yeah. It's awful.
Yeah. If you think about how much powder I was consuming, a bunch of powder. So like, yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine. I'd be scared to look.
I guess I'm curious about, you've had 2 years off of kratom. I think like when you're closer to it, or like we work on the podcast, so I'm kind of immersed in it all the time, but has your perception of it changed at all, or do you think that the way you perceive the public's perception of it has changed?
Well, definitely my perception of it has changed. I'm just like completely against it. I know that some people like it for like harm reduction, but now at this point I just think it should really just be off the shelves, or even if not off the shelves, definitely warning signs, and just more or less like which is kind of what we do with our org, is just awareness. And I agree with that, at least like letting people know, because a lot of people do think it's a harmless substance. And then you have advertisements that's just like acting like it's just a relaxing, harmless drink, and it's, people have no idea that stuff's addicting. And I had definitely defended it to the end when I was using it. So yeah, it was the greatest thing ever. Nobody could tell me any differently. And so
yeah, I think many of us can relate to that swap of like being kratom advocates and then being on the other side of it, and how different that feels when what it can do to you.
yes.
Looking ahead, what are your goals for the next year in recovery and beyond?
Well, I guess I just hope to be a better mom and be there for my kids and my family. Like I said about the running stuff, and then I hope to get my paramedicine, and I hope to continue working with the group that I'm with right now. Like just I hope to stay in that space, like helping out and being able to host meetings. And I hope that I'm eventually able to like go out and spread awareness in my town. So that's something when I get more time that I'm going to try to start doing. But yeah, other than that, I think that's.
I guess I'm curious about why you feel like you need more time in order to go spread awareness in your town.
So right now I just don't have the time. That's it. That's just it. So like where I said, I'm kind of like careful about like what to put on my plate. So it's just like, I can't wait to do that. But it's just like right now with school and everything. But I definitely talk about it to people. Like, so if somebody, like even in work or anything, I'm going to tell people about it. But I would like to start going to council meetings and stuff soon, and look into like the steps to do all that.
Have you come across anyone in your like everyday life that's mentioned to you about kratom or having a kratom problem or anything? I'm curious if you've like, outside of meetings and things like that, if you've come across anyone with a problem.
I have come across people that have used it, and of course, they've not like really thought anything about it. So I've definitely mentioned that it's harmful. I don't hear a lot about it, honestly. So it's like people might be using it and you never know. So it's just kind of scary. But no, really, other than that, not people that I knew previously that used it, or meetings. I don't see it often. I've seen it a couple times. So we've talked about it.
If there was one thing that you could tell someone that might be listening and still struggling, what would you say to them?
I would just tell them like they can quit, like you can do hard things. So that's what I say to myself, like you can do hard things, and that they're worthy to have a beautiful life. We all deserve that, no matter what. We all deserve to be present and feel our emotions, and we can get through it. It's going to be hard and challenging, but it's definitely worth it in the end. So I have a life today that I never could have imagined. So I know that I've talked a lot about like struggles and stuff like that, but I've done so many things in the last 2 years that almost my entire life, I haven't been able to do. So Kratom took everything from me. I've been happy to get it back slowly. So
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I'm so glad that you said that you're worthy. You would say that you're worthy of living a full and beautiful life. Yeah, and it seems like you've done a really great job of rebuilding yourself and creating a life that you love. So
yeah.
I'm so glad that you came back on today.
Yeah, thank you guys for letting me. It was really important that I shared my story with you guys in the beginning, even if it was terrible. So that was like a really big step for me So I appreciate you guys having the platform to do that.
Yeah, we're very grateful to hear from you. I know that your dogs were barking earlier in the interview. What kind of dogs do you have?
So I have a German Australian mix. She's older. Her name's Dakota. She's 8. That's who was barking. But then we recently, she's 2 now. We got a little cockapoo. Her name's Ellie. And she's the sweetest thing. So she just follows Dakota around. She doesn't really bark much, but she's a snuggler. So she's like a little Velcro dog. So she's always next to me. Anywhere I go, she wants to be right there.
Oh, I love dogs. I have a little German Shepherd pit bull mix.
Oh,
named Ollie.
Shepherds are the best. Ollie?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet he's cute.
He's adorable. Well, is there anything I missed? Any questions you wished I had asked you, or anything that you want to cover before we finish?
I don't think so. I think you asked everything.
Okay. Well, Natalie, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yes, I appreciate it. Nice. Thanks, Libby.
Have a beautiful night.
All right, you too. Bye.